Join us in celebrating Oyin Adebayo.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Let's get the energy up. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, first of all, to PG Man, as well as his wife, for having me to talk to you today about what it means to build a fearless life. My name is Oyin Adebayo, and I am an accidental serial tech entrepreneur. I started building my businesses in my bedroom from the age of 14, where me and my sister moved from Nigeria to the UK without nobody to braid our hair. From that point, I started to build my businesses accidentally, from just me and my sister to over 1,000 clients by the age of 21. And I never knew that journey was going to take me to becoming a serial entrepreneur. But I realized the reason why I've been able to build what I've built is because I've embodied what it means to be bold as a lion. And so I'm excited to share my passion, share my journey with you today on how you too can become a fearless entrepreneur, a fearless builder, and someone who can actually believe that they can do it. And so, as I mentioned to you, I've been able to scale my business from £200 a week to a multi-million-pound tech empire from the ground up, with no money, but just pure dedication and vision. But this isn't just about me. It's actually also about you. This is a message about what's possible when you stop waiting for fear to disappear and start building in spite of it. Because you know what? Fear is that dwarf that continues to pose itself and it never leaves. And so you either face it or you actually strive above it. When you build with purpose, purpose wins if you let it. And I just think about the scripture, as a Christian, I think about the scripture to be strong and be of good courage. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. When I started braiding my sister's hair in my bedroom, I never knew that it was going to take me to building this business that it is today. As I started to build, I realized that I wasn't just going to use what was in my hand, as God said to Moses in the book of Exodus, when he was trying to literally take people to the promised land. God said, "What is in your hand?" Many of us here may be thinking of, "Lord, where do I start? How do I start building this thing?" But I want to send a message to you today. God is saying, what is in your hand? And so I used what was in my hand, which was braiding hair. Right? And as I used what it was in my hand, I began to impact many other women that sat in my chair beyond just plaiting their hair. I gave them career education, and I also was able to help them with things like their CV and their business plans. And little did I know that it was going to take me into building an education business that's been recognized and backed by the UK government. I didn't start just as a CEO. In fact, I never wished to be a CEO. I started with what was in my hand. I didn't choose entrepreneurship. In fact, entrepreneurship chose me. I just wanted to help my family. I just wanted to be an economist, and I just wanted to be the president of Nigeria, whether you think about it or not. And I realized that chair was my first classroom. That chair was where I started to learn about what it means to truly impact the individual and how the impact of an individual scales to a community, how that impact scales to nations, and how that impact scales to the globe. I learned to serve. Many people think to build an empire and to become a billionaire starts with getting all of the money. But actually, it starts with servitude. I learned what it means to serve that woman in my chair for 7 hours. I learned to speak. And I learned to see people for who they really were. Although I was earning that £200 a week as a side hustle, I earned that, in my sister's bedroom. I earned it, when I moved to university. God was depositing purpose inside of me. And God was giving me purpose by those many conversations that I was having as well. And so God taught me about not despising the small beginnings, as it says in Zechariah chapter 4, verse 10. So I want to ask you, You may be in that classroom of learning. Are you overlooking it because it's small? Or are you overlooking it because it doesn't look like success yet? Because if I overlooked my classroom of success, I don't think I would have been here today. So, as I began to go down that journey of success, I realized that God wanted more. I remember praying in my bedroom and I said, this hair thing, I built this clientele accidentally, who I didn't necessarily want to keep after I left university, to over 1,000 people, and accidentally built a community where I was helping with their careers and businesses. I asked the Lord, what do you want from these people? What do you want me to do with this community? And God told me that it was time for me to build something called the Beyond Hair Summit. And it was beautiful, but it was very bankrupting. From that storm where I ran my first event, with less than £20,000 to my name, our first tech boot camp was born. And at that time, it was called Black Coder. And at that time, we got recognition from the BBC News, Guardian, and we were all over the news about how we were upskilling Black women to get into tech. I went from styling hair to teach women on how to build technology. And I was actually quite selfish about it because I knew that if I wanted to actually scale beyond educating women and styling women's hair, I couldn't sit on that chair. I needed to impact more women to be able to braid people's hair. But I also needed to use technology to be able to build that further. And it wasn't a pivot for me. It was, how do I scale this beyond me? How do I make my staff and my rod set more people free? So it wasn't just a pivot of business, it was a pivot of purpose. And so I began to trust God, and God said to me, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord, according to Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And logically, this moment should have just ended me. Logically, I should have just finished at this point. But purpose doesn't break, it builds. It reminds me of when the wall of Jericho was being rebuilt, when they had to break things down before they built it back up. It clarified the journey that I was trying to go. And I realized that my growth was always going to be driven by purpose. So the Niyo blueprint was born. The blueprint of purpose, the blueprint of people, the blueprint of profit, and the blueprint of planet. At Niyo, we build with a framework of people, purpose, profit, and planet. So you people are the why. Purpose is our compass, is how we move. Profit is our fuel, and planet is our legacy. And I realized that I do want to grow fast. I do want to grow my businesses fast, but I wanted to grow it with soul. I wanted to grow it with making sure that people were not left behind. And God gave me a bigger vision. As it says in Proverbs chapter 29, verse 18, it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And what the thing about vision is that when you have a vision and you clarify vision to people, people come and people follow you. So I want to ask you, what is the purpose of what you're trying to build? What is the problem that you see in the world? Because it must solve your business or your career must solve a real problem. But your leadership will solve a deeper one. Your leadership will bring people closer to the vision. And I want you to ask yourself as you're building, what kind of world am I leaving behind? And what change do I want to see in my world? And how do I make an impact? And so, as I continued, I knew that my journey was going to be pivoted through the tool called obedience. Many people say you pivot because of what the customer says, but I say I pivot as the Lord tells me to pivot. I pivot through obedience. And so the Lord told me, you are going to train millions of women to get into tech. And so guess what? We've been able to upskill over 1,000 women to be able to get into tech. And a lot of our ladies work now in the likes of KPMG, Goldman Sachs, the government, TalkTalk, and the likes. We've been able to amass over £2.5 million in revenue on just our education business alone, and we're still 100% purpose aligned. These are not vanity metrics. Thank you. These are victory metrics. And I want to speak to you here. If you're a child of God, I want to let you know that God has so much resource inside of you to be able to bring what we call victory metrics. Because every woman who we train breaks a cycle, not just a cycle for herself, but a cycle for her children, a cycle for her home, a cycle for a generation. And I want to say, you are a light to your generation. Are you letting that light shine before others? Because Matthew chapter 5 verse 16 says, let your light so shine before others. It is not about visibility for you alone. It's about impact. And so, what is it that you want to build for impact? And how do you do that? And so, remember I told you that as much as I wanted to build for impact, I knew that I needed to scale this hair thing that I had. And so I've been iterating and iterating. I knew that the people that I wanted to build this with me needed to be people that looked like me. And so I decided that I wanted to have beauty meet tech. And so we took it further. We first started trying out using augmented reality technologies. And we used computer vision technologies to be able to see how women could try on hairstyles and get their hair done in our beautiful pink salon in Birmingham. And so we were able to land on how we can use artificial intelligence to be able to do that. So now today, we've been able to have 200 women test our try-on solution to be able to essentially try their hairstyles on and get their hair done in our salon in Birmingham. And I realized that beauty was not just shallow. Beauty ties well to confidence. It ties well to identity. If I came up on the stage looking raggedy, you would not listen to me. But I knew that I wanted to make women feel empowered and be empowered. Feel empowered by the way they looked, but be empowered by the substance of their education, the substance of what they could offer to the world. Beauty was about dignity, and Black women deserve the innovation that was designed for us. And because he has filled us with the Spirit of God and with all manner of skills like he did to Bezalel, I knew that I needed to create a new generation of Bezalels of our generation. We need people who just don't have the vision like Moses did, but the people that will take the plow and were able to build with that vision. The Lord is calling for Bezalels in this room. If you don't know who Bezalel is, I want you to go and read Exodus chapter 35. The Lord is calling for people who would actually build with all manner of skills, with wisdom, the Spirit of God, revelation. Because it's not enough for us to just have the skills, but it's enough for us to be able to invoke the Spirit of God in our world today. And so I was able to grow. I was able to understand the nuances of building a team. I built a team from a team of just myself to a team of 40 people. We were offered equity, but we declined it because I knew that was not the path that God wanted us to go. We scaled, but we didn't lose our soul. Because I'm not just building a business. I'm building people who build businesses. And if I'm going to build people who build businesses, I need to make sure that what I'm building has soul behind it. And we don't just hire talent, we create talents. So I knew that I should use whatever gift that God had given me to serve others. That is my life mission. And I knew that leadership is not just power, it's stewardship. How do I steward the gifts that God has given me in my hands? How do I steward the things that God has given me? How do I use my brain, my wisdom to be able to do that? So I needed to build a culture. I began to sit with the Lord, and I knew that the way I was going to do that was to define the three values, of Niyo, which was integrity, ingenuity, and care. All embedded, all inspired by the book of Exodus. So we did what Solomon did, where he started off with his local community. And God said it's time for global. It's time to reach the rest of the UK. It's time to reach Africa. And it's time to reach the US. He said it's not time for stopping. It's time to empower 1 million women globally through tech, through beauty, through access. I decided to create a movement. It's kingdom work. It's digital kingdom work. And yet, it's very deeply human. Psalm chapter 2, verse 8 says, "Ask me, and I will make the nations your inheritance." And so I ask boldly, and I build boldly, and I lead boldly. So I want to leave you with just a few words from a theologian who is continuing to inspire my leadership journey. There is something in every one of you that waits, that listens for the sound of of the genuine in yourself. And if you cannot hear it, you will never find whatever it is which you are searching. And if you hear it, then you do not follow it. It is better that you had never been born. You are the only you that has ever lived. Your idiom, your unique signature is the only idiom of its kind in all of its existence. And if you cannot hear the sound of the genuine in you, all of your life you will spend your days on the ends of the strings that someone else pulls. I just want to leave you with that quote. The reason why I want to leave you with that quote is, are you being pulled at the strings of others, or are you allowing the Lord to lead you to build? I believe that more than ever before, the Lord is calling for a generation of kingdom builders, not just kingdom listeners, not just churchgoers, not just church servers, but people who build to impact our world. Because as it is in heaven, so it would be on earth. Thank you.